Hello and welcome to the Lessons in Wisdom call tonight. I want to welcome you. I hope you guys had a wonderful and magnificent day today. My name is Issachar Bey. I am the spiritual director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And I'm so glad that you guys can take the time out of your busy schedules to join us on the call tonight. I believe these calls are what we need. That will help us to expand our consciousness, will help us to get the truths, the concepts, the ideas, the golden nuggets that will help us to manifest and create our own reality. And so it is sessions like this that will give us the opportunity to really expand and move from one dimension to the next. And so I'm always excited about the opportunity to come together and begin to get into wisdom and knowledge and begin to study and begin to partake of this good knowledge that is available for all of us. And like I always tell you guys all the time, we are not teaching or releasing anything new. We're only bringing you back to remembrance of who you already are, what's already inside of you. What we're doing is allowing you to tap into the inner you to now activate the things that we discuss week by week on Sundays and Wednesdays and so forth. And so those of you, if this is your first time listening into the call, you can follow us on Instagram at TOESC Spiritual Center. We're on Facebook at Temple of Enlightenment. We're on Twitter at Enlightenment LV. You can also follow us on LinkedIn at Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. And so we're getting ready to set up on TikTok, and we're getting ready to hit all multiple streaming social media stream platform services. And so we will be definitely available everywhere. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on Sunday. Those of you that are listening, if you want to join us every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with this same number, we are doing the Millionaires of the Bible series, and it's absolutely phenomenal. We're actually getting ready on this Sunday to go into the third chapter, and so those of you that really want to be a part of this great teaching and just getting together and really getting into this book, you can join us. And like I said, we will be doing the Millionaire Bible series every Sunday going forward. And so that's going to be every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So help us get the word out. Let everybody know that we're going to be here on Sundays and also on Wednesdays. I often think about, as the days go on, how each one of you are really utilizing your time, really working on your manifestations, really working on, as we talked about last Wednesday, the 10 keys to reinventing your self-image. If you guys didn't get a chance to listen to our call, you can definitely go to our YouTube page, which is the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, and all of our calls are there. The call from last Wednesday was phenomenal. We got into the 10 keys, and I think that it was very profound. It was prolific. It was to get into the place where you can utilize those 10 keys to redevelop, to enforce, to reinvent your self-image. Image is everything. And so we were definitely taking those notes and utilizing them and applying them to our lives so that we can make a change to our self-image, therefore making a change in our reality. And so it's just amazing how when we all come together, like-mindedness of all same consciousness, we're able to elevate and manifest all of our goals, dreams, and ambitions. Tonight, I want to take a look at something that I've been thinking about for a while. It's very important. I think it's a key element in us really going to the next level, really becoming one within ourselves, and really being at a place where we can have total control and authority over our lives. And so tonight we're going to be talking about, what are you feeding your mind? That's the question for tonight. What are you feeding your mind? Now, metaphysically, the word eat, E-A-T, literally means to partake of, mentally and spiritually. And whenever you see the word eat in the Bible, it literally means one who is receiving it, to partake of it, to receive it into one's consciousness. You understand, when Eve began to eat the fruit from the tree, and so we begin to see that when she ate the fruit, she really partake. She partake of the tree of good and evil, of knowledge and wisdom. She partake of it mentally and also spiritually. It begin to form and begin to come into her consciousness. Whatever we eat mentally and partake of spiritually, it becomes one with our consciousness. And that's why it's so important that we be very careful of what we feed our minds. The situations, the circumstances we deal with. The scripture for tonight comes out of Matthew. Our text for tonight comes out of Matthew, the 4th chapter and the 4th verse. And it says here, but he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. I love that scripture. It's very simple, very simplistic in text, but how powerful it is that he begins to say here that it's man doesn't live by bread alone. He doesn't live by just eating. He doesn't live by what he drinks, what he eats, and his everyday. But what he lives by is every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Understand here that the mouth of God is God's word. God's word is God. There's no separation, for he says, I am the word was made flesh. But understand that God is his word and his word is him. There's no separation. So when he speaks, but every word that proceeds out of his mouth is him. The divine consciousness, substance that we become one with, the universal presence within. We live by the word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And when you look at that, you begin to say, wait a minute. I'm not living by just bread alone, but I'm living by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. What word is proceeding out of his mouth? What word are you feeding your mind with? What word are you feeding into your mind? What thoughts, what concepts, what ideas? Because you are what you eat. Haven't we heard that before? Haven't we heard the term, you are what you eat? What you feed yourself mentally and spiritually, you are. This lesson is so dynamic. This is the foundation of what you're going to build on for Sunday. But you are what you eat. What are you eating spiritually? What are you eating mentally? What are you feeding? What concepts? What thoughts? What thought patterns? What conversations are you having? Where you focusing your attention on, your mind on? What are you constantly thinking about all day? You are what you eat. And so some of us are in situations in our physical lives, in our lives, where we're saying, you know what, my life is not the way that it's supposed to be. I'm not happy. I'm not at the place where I thought I would be at this age. I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. I feel like I'm not where I need to be. I feel like my marriage is not where it needs to be. My finances are not where they need to be. my career, I just feel like I'm just all over the place. I don't feel like there's any structure. I feel like if I move 2 steps forward, I get knocked 3 steps back. The question I have to ask you is, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your mind? Because you are what you eat. I begin to look at this because I begin to look at our minds and how our minds are developed and how the construct of our minds, being that we have the conscious mind and then we also have the subconscious mind. And I look at how what we feed ourselves, what we feed our minds, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, the conscious mind takes it in and gives it to the subconscious mind. And then the subconscious mind then now becomes a magnet, and the mind magnetizes the very thing that it is. Because when you see the word man or one man, you need to replace that word with mind. So a mind can only attract what it is. And what it is dependent upon what it has been fed. What are you feeding your mind? You know, one of the great truths that we have here on the lesson call tonight, those of you that are listening in for the first time and you didn't get the opportunity to get the call notes, what you can do is on the YouTube page, when we do the replay, we will be able to upload those call notes so you can get those call notes. I also recommend that you guys get a folder or a binder and start putting these call notes together so you can go back into reference these lessons, because these lessons, I tell you this is amazing how life goes and how wisdom goes. These lessons will mean something to you now, and I guarantee you 6 months to a year from now, you can come back to these lessons and they'll mean something totally different to you, because guess what? You will have evolved. You will have evolved to a high level of consciousness, and these lessons that you have now that we just went over, they're going to mean so much more to you and be so much more valuable to you once your consciousness expands. So one of the great truths that we have here says the ancestors of every action is thought. I love that because when you begin to understand that the action is really the effect, and that I always want to constantly teach us that we must learn how to be creatures of creation, one who can always create the cause. Because if I can create the cause, I can automatically get the effect. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. What you're willing to walk away from will determine what you're willing to walk into. Let me say that one more time. What you're willing to walk away from will determine what you're willing to walk into. Now, what you're willing to walk away from will determine what you're feeding your mind. Because those of you tonight that's saying to yourselves, well, you know what, I got to make a change. I'm around a lot of negativity. I constantly focus on a lot of stuff that I shouldn't be focused on. My conversations is all about negativity, about other people's business, who's doing this with who, who's doing that with who. I'm not discussing anything about my personal life. I'm not doing anything that's beneficial to me. It seems like everything I talk about is gossip around other people, who's going on, who's doing this, who's with this person. Nothing constructive, nothing that's going to benefit me and get me to the next level. But I have to begin to be very cautious about what I'm feeding my mind, because what I'm willing to walk away from, what I'm willing to stop feeding my mind, and the things that the negativity and the negative thoughts and the negative people and the negative environment, if I can be cautious about what I'm willing to walk away from, it can and will determine what I'm willing to walk into. I begin to look at that from a different perspective, because as we are growing in this truth and in these lessons about building our consciousness prosperity in a prosperity realm, and expanding our level of consciousness to great abundance and happiness. You know, in order for any one of us to be a rich person, a rich woman, or a rich man, we got to first be a rich mind. The word man, we're going to always replace it. The word man or woman, we're going to replace it with the word mind. So in order to be a rich man or a rich woman, you got to first be a rich mind. And in order to be a rich mind, it will determine on what you're feeding your mind in order to become rich. No mind just becomes rich by luck. Doesn't happen. There has to be something that has been getting fed. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. What thoughts, concepts have you been feeding your mind? Those of you that, you know, I had a revelation last night. I was talking to somebody, and I was telling them about the replacing of a woman and man with the word mind. And I said, when you get in a relationship with somebody, you don't get in there with the man, or you don't get in a relationship with the woman. You get in a relationship with their mind. You get in a relationship with how they think, what their belief patterns are, how they were raised, what psychological things they're holding on to, the brokenness. You're dealing with everything in their mind. And I said, the Bible says, he that finds a wife finds a good thing. And I said, I got a revelation last night that when the Bible says he that finds a wife finds a good thing, he's talking about he that finds a wife's consciousness, one who has a wife consciousness, not necessarily about her physical approach, because you're not marrying how she looks. You're not marrying what she says. You're not marrying what kind of car she has or what she's driving or what she's wearing. You're marrying her mind. He that finds a wife, you're looking for a woman who has the wife consciousness. And so it gets deeper than that now, because what that means now is that the woman would have to have or utilize and be walking and operating in the wife consciousness. Because if you're already in the wife's consciousness, he that finds, which means that if you are already in the consciousness of being a wife, you will be found. They say when the teacher is ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the same thing, when the woman is in a wife consciousness, it's not about the outer appearance. He that finds a wife, he that finds one that has the consciousness of a wife, will find favor. And so I got that revelation last night, because everything is mind. Everything is consciousness. Everything is mind. When you begin to understand and look at that, you begin to see the concept of there is only one master, and that master is the I am within us. We begin to see that there is no separation between you and God. I tell people this all the time. If you ever want to find yourself, you're going to have to find God. And if you ever want to find God, you got to find yourself. There is no separation between you and God. There is only oneness. There is only oneness. That's why when people say, oh, he's trying to find himself. No, he's trying to find the God in him. Because if somebody says, such and such man, he's going to the church, he's trying to find God. He's not trying to find God. He's trying to find himself, because in order for him to find God, he has to find himself. And in order to find himself, he has to find God. There is no separation between you and God. What are you feeding your mind? What are we constantly feeding our minds? Your mouth is your consciousness. It is just an outward expression of how you experience your thoughts. Your mouth can only speak what your consciousness knows. And what your consciousness knows is determined by what it's been fed. We were born to be creators. Everyone, listen to this. This is the dynamic truth. Every one of us is paid according to our vision. Man will only get out of life what he first gives himself. Every one of us, are paid according to our vision. And your vision will be determined on what you're feeding your mind. When we look at people in life who have excelled, what we're looking at is people who are not afraid to utilize their minds. They're not afraid to tap into and to expand their level of consciousness. They're not afraid. And once you begin to understand that, you'll begin to understand the power of your mind and how powerful it is. You know, going back to the story in the Garden of Eden, when the serpent began to talk to Eve, it's very ironic how he never went to Adam, but he went to Eve. Eve would represent the female nature of man, the intuitive side of man. But what he did was he got in her mind. He went and got into her mind. If you eat this, you will be like God. It's kind of ironic how even when we go back and look at slavery, how they were able to get in our minds. And now the same stipulations that have been placed in our minds are still here today. We don't trust each other. We always try to outdo each other. We can't never come together and be together as one. We're the only genre. We are the only race of people who always are trying to outdo each other, who backstab each other because of what's been programmed in our mind from back in slavery times. What are you feeding your mind? Where your attention goes, the power will flow. What are you paying your attention to? I say this all the time. You know, if we can learn how to settle and begin to concentrate on what it is that we want to manifest in life and where we want to be, listen again. Where your attention goes, the power flows. So if I need to be healed or I need a financial breakthrough, I need to put my attention to where it is that I need to manifest. Because where my attention goes, the power flows. But now here's the thing now. You can't feed your mind the thought that I don't have. Because if you focus on I don't have, the power goes to I don't have, and the universe continues to give you I don't have. So what happens is you have to begin to now, you have to feed your mind the concept that I have. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I have. And because you're telling the conscious mind, which gives it to the subconscious mind that you have it, guess what happens? Where your attention goes, your power flows. And so if your attention goes to I have it, the power flows to I have it, and the universe makes it a reality. Where your attention goes, the power flows. We begin to look at this in every aspect of our lives. Where are we putting our attention at? Are we worrying about gossip? Are we worrying about what came out on Netflix? What came out on Amazon Prime? What's on Hulu? What's on HBO Max? What's on Showtime? We watching The Chi. We watching all these TV shows. We watching everything. But where your attention goes, your power flows. And so we have to be very cautious of where we put our attention at. This is very interesting now. What are we feeding our minds? We got to be very careful. I keep saying this because I want you to, I want you, when you get off this call tonight, I want you to actually keep telling yourself, what am I feeding my mind? What am I feeding my mind? And it may hit you, and you may say, you know what? I've been feeding my mind so much junk that I don't even realize the junk that I've been feeding it, because I've been so I'm just adapted to the junk that I've been feeding my mind that I don't even realize that's why I'm not getting what I want out of life. That's why I'm not having the lifestyle and manifesting the things that I want, because I'm really looking at what I'm feeding my mind. Reverend Knight tells a great story. He tells a story of a man who had a hot dog stand on the side of the road, and he began to sell hot dogs, and he began to advertise and put up a sign, and everybody would come from all over the city to get these hot dogs from a man. And he was very successful, made a lot of money selling these hot dogs on the side of the road. And his son came to him one day and said, Dad, you know, they're telling us that a recession is coming. And at first he didn't listen to his son. He kept selling his hot dogs. He kept selling it. He kept his sign up. People were still coming. He was still making money. And the son kept going to the father and saying, Daddy, I'm telling you, the recession is coming, you know. And so he said, you know, he kept telling them until his father began to feed his mind with what the son was telling him. And what he did was he began to take down the sign. People started coming. He began to lose a lot of money. He had to end up packing up the little wagon, and nobody ever came to his hot dog stand anymore, and he lost the business. But what he realized was that I could have kept going. I was I was feeding my mind with the lack, loss, and limitation thoughts that my son was giving me. It didn't matter because the outer world had a recession. Once I let that recession come into my mind and I began to feed my mind with that recession, I now became part of the recession myself. What are we feeding our minds? We got to be very careful of the stories of the lack, loss, and limitation of what other people are going through, what other people are dealing with. We got to be very careful, because what we feed our minds, we are what we eat. When he ate the lack, loss, and limitation, that's what he became. It's impossible for you to eat lack, loss, and limitation and not become it. For you not to become one with what you eat. I said earlier, the word eat means to partake of spiritually and mentally. What are we feeding ourselves spiritually and mentally? What are we taking in? You know, I'm going to bring back the meditation class. I did it the first time. I did it a while back, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I'm working on some other things now with it, but I want to bring it back because I think we need to do it at least once a week, where we need to get in a nice, quiet place and begin to be quiet and begin to tap into the inner divine and begin to really work with the God in us and begin to silence our minds and begin to really get that control and that power over our thoughts, to quiet our minds. You know, a lot of us, when we learn how to really meditation, as I always said, is medication for the mind. And a lot of us need to medicate. We need to medicate our minds. We medicate ourselves physically. When something is wrong, we popping pills to go to sleep. We popping pills to get up. We taking pills because our head hurts. We got body ailments. We taking medicine for everything. But meditation is medication for the mind. And the mind is the most important thing we have. It is our secret weapon. And so we have to be very mindful of what we eat. Your mind is the merchant in the marketplace of life. Your mind is the merchant in the marketplace of life. What you begin to see, I tell people all the time, you are your own bank. You are your own bank. Nobody can tell you how much money you can or can't make. You are your own bank. Once you can learn how to tap into the bank and get the numbers to unlock it, the ATM numbers, your PIN number, you can make as much money as you want. Your mind is the merchant in the marketplace of life. Anything you want in life, anything that you want in life, the only thing you have to do is pay mind to it. Pay attention to it. And when you pay attention to it, where your attention goes, the power flows. Anything you want in life, you just got to pay your mind to it. This is the secret. I was talking to somebody this morning, and I was telling them that a lot of times in life where we are now, I see a lot of people who are cheating. And she said, what do you mean by that? I said, because when you look on social media and Instagram and Facebook and you see all these people that are putting out the false perception that they have things that they really don't have, I said they're cheating in life because a lot of people in life have things on the physical side, but they don't have it on the spiritual side. You cannot have anything physically if you don't first have it on the spiritual realm. Everything starts off in the spiritual realm. So what happens is if you have something on the physical side and you don't have it spiritually, eventually it will get taken from you. And when it gets taken from you, you won't be able to get it back. That's why we look at millionaires and billionaires who, quote unquote, go bankrupt and then they pop back up again because it was never the physical ramification that they lost. Their wealth and their financial security was on a mental plane. So no matter what was taken away from them on the physical realm, it has to come back again because they had been feeding themselves mentally, and so they were now magnetizing the very thing that was in their mind. You can only magnetize who you are. And so that's why it's very important that whatever you want out of life, all you got to do is pay a mind to it. Pay mind to it. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is pay attention to the thing that you want. Not the lack, not the loss, not the limitation of it, but that you already have it. And once you pay mind to it, you're going to get what you pay for. You're going to get what you pay for. I think that in our reality of life, being able to consciously create what we want out of life and to be able to manifest it, to be able to really bring it in, to find that level of happiness, to find that level of security, to find that level of stability that we want, we have to pay mind to it. We have to already, we got to consciously feed ourselves the happiness. We got to constantly feed our minds the security. We got to constantly feed our minds the stability that we need. We feed it by what we read, by our conversation, by our thoughts, our operations of how we operate, how we move, how we intermingle in our environment, in our families, and so forth. But it's an inside job. Remember, we are the ones that are going to create the cause. The cause you create because you automatically know that for every cause there has to be an effect. The effect is what happens in the physical realm. So if I can be a master of creating my cause, then by no means necessary will I ever come to the place where I'm not afraid to create my own effect, because I understand the laws of harvest, seed time and harvest. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For every cause, there will always be an effect. Life will be good to you if you will be good to life. Life will treat you how you treat it. I always tell people all the time, live your life. Don't let life live you. You ought to dictate to life how you want to live. Speak it, declare and decree it. put it into the atmosphere. Begin to start feeding your mind the kind of life that you want. Begin to pay attention to the dynamic, the lifestyle, the life that you want. Because what you got to realize is this. This is how you get out of your own way. You get out of your own way by not worrying about how these things are going to unfold. That's how we get in our own way. If I say to you tonight, where your attention goes, your power flows, and you're focusing on becoming a millionaire, you see yourself being a millionaire, you're focusing on being a millionaire, and that's great. Where your attention goes, your power flows. But where your attention is you're so focused on how it's going to happen. Don't worry about how it's going to happen. Just put your attention on the fact that you are a millionaire. Let the power go to the millionaire process, not the how. Leave that up to the universal presence. What happens is when you begin to utilize the conscious mind and bring it into the subconscious mind and begin to feed your mind those thoughts, those concepts, those ideas that you are the millionaire, what ends up happening is you'll be surprised at how many ways that will begin to unfold and begin to actually take root. When you begin to understand that your mind, let me teach you guys this. Your mind operates from pictures. So when you're feeding your mind, even though you're reading books, even though you're having conversations, the way you impregnate your subconscious mind to give you the results that you want, you must use pictures. So that's why visualization is so important. It is the secret weapon. When you want to manifest something and you want to feed your mind, you want to feed your mind pictures, images. That's why we said image is everything. The imagination is the beginning of wisdom. And so when you begin to unlock that door, you begin to understand that, listen, you are the window of heaven. The Bible says that the kingdom of heaven is within you. You are the window of heaven. And you can open up that window of heaven and the blessings will come out and overflow. I don't know if that went over somebody's head. Let me say that again. You are the window of heaven. Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom is within you, the kingdom of heaven. You are the window of heaven. When you begin to open up your window, which is your mind, you can now have the overflow. One says, how do you open up your mind? You open up the windows of heaven, of your mind, by what you pay attention to, by what you feed your mind, the visualization pictures, the conversations, the thoughts that you have. Because where your attention goes, your power flows. And so we have to be very cautious about where our attention goes. We have to keep ourselves out of the lack, loss, and limitation, because it's very easy to fall on the physical side and see what we don't have, what we need, what's not there physically, or where there is a void. But when we operate on the spiritual side, we understand that all things are made, all things are purpose, everything is already here. We already live in a total abundance. We already live in the land of more than enough. We already live in the land of milk and honey. There's always more than enough. And what we're doing is we are now taking that spiritual context of having more than enough, having been in the place where we don't need anything because we have more than enough. We're in the land of milk and honey, and we're going to learn how to create that cause so that we can create the effect in the physical realm. And so as we begin to do that, we begin to really see how life will begin to transcend and really take us to a whole nother level. And I think that it's wonderful when we can get together and really begin to manifest a lot of the things that we've always wanted to manifest. I think that when we look at the subconscious mind, The subconscious mind becomes a powerful creative force. It is the thing that helps us to magnetize and bring into fruition. You know, let me tell you guys something. If there's somebody on this call tonight and you are experiencing things in your life that you feel yourself you haven't manifested, you feel like I don't feel like I'm bringing that energy. I don't feel like I'm magnetizing that. I don't feel like that thought pattern, or I'm feeding my mind with the insecurity or with the fears, and I keep attracting people who are insecure, and I keep attracting people who I don't like their energy, and I haven't really manifested that energy within myself. There's something within you that's manifesting that, and that's pulling that into your reality, because we can only manifest who we are. So anytime there's something in your physical reality that you feel is not correct, is out of order, what you must do is begin to go within and say, wait a minute, I got to redefine some things, because I got to realize, what am I paying attention to? What exactly am I feeding my mind? Because there's certain things, this person that just showed up in my life is somebody who is totally out of order, somebody who I definitely would never have manifested in my life, because I feel like I'm not about that. I'm not about that kind of situation, that kind of mindset, that level of consciousness. And so for that person to show up in my life, it's a direct indication that something within me needs to be changed. I got to be careful of what I'm feeding my mind, what I'm paying attention to. There are two mental laws, that we need to look at. The first is the law of inhibition. Every idea tends to prevent the production or development, or to cause disappearance of an idea which cannot be united to itself according to the law of systematic association for a common end, right? Then there's the mental law of association, which states that every idea causes to develop the subconscious fact and tend to associate itself within the human, which it towards the common goal. So the law of inhibition, the law of association. Every thought must be taken into the inner sanctuary of your mind until it's brought into fulfillment. I'll say that again. Every thought must be brought into the inner sanctuary of your mind until it's brought to fulfillment. Listen, until thought is linked with purpose, there can be no accomplishment. I'll say that again. Until thought is linked, it's connected to your purpose, there can be no accomplishment. You got to be able to connect your thoughts along with your purpose before we can accomplish anything. And so when we begin to look at that, by bringing your thoughts into the inner sanctuary of your mind, that's where they begin to cultivate. That's where they begin to grow. You begin to manifest and mold these thoughts, and mold them and shape them, because your thoughts are no more than you. There's no separation between you and your thoughts. Your thoughts are what's going to become the very thing that you want to manifest. I am the thinker that thinks the thought. Your thoughts are everything. And so that's why it's important that we learn how to cultivate and bring those thoughts into the inner sanctuary of our minds. One of the greatest tools that we will ever begin to use, I call it the law of concentration. Being able to concentrate is it can be very difficult, because a lot of us, it's hard for us to quiet our minds. And that's why I think that meditation is so important, because you must learn how to quiet your mind. You must learn how to relax and quiet your mind. A lot of us, as we sit down in the chair, we're worrying about what we're going to eat tonight, what we're going to wear to work tomorrow. Did we pay this bill? Did this bill get paid? Did this come in the mail? I'm waiting for this to happen. Did you get a phone call from this? Did you know what happened with the other thing? Did they fix the roof? You're worried about all these things. We need to learn how to quiet our minds. And we need to learn how to be able to master the law of concentration. And when we begin to look at concentration, we have to begin to look at the objective side of it, and then there's the subjective side of it. And so the objective side of concentration is when we focus on the external objects of concrete images. That's what happens when we look at it. But when we begin to concentrate subjectively, what happens is we begin to focus on the abstract idea of truth. We begin to look at the abstract. And so when we begin to look at these things, we begin to understand that there is power in being able to master concentration, because concentration will help us to focus our attention. That the concentration is being able to, we used to play a little game when I was a kid where we used to look at each other and see who can look at each other the longest without blinking. And whoever had the power of concentration to be able to stare without blinking, without letting anything to hinder your distraction or break your attention, your concentration force, you will be the winner. And we used to play that game all the time. Understanding the power of concentration. It is a very powerful thing when we are able to learn how to concentrate. We begin to look at how we feed our minds. How are we going to begin to look at the different ways of how we can change how we feed our minds? We begin to look at the different ways of how we feed ourselves. Is it through movies, through books, through conversations, through newspapers, magazines? What are we reading? Are we eating mental junk food? Things that really don't mean any good or any benefit or benefit us any kind of way. The mental junk food that we take, because, just like some people are addicted to like cupcakes and popcorn and cake, there's mental things that we are addicted to, things that stimulate our minds that may not necessarily be good for us, but they stimulate us mentally. And those things that stimulate us mentally are what we can call the mental junk food, that they're not good for us. But we love them because they satisfy us. They give us that oomph that we need. It gives us that mental sugar rush that we need. But it's not really good for us. And so we have to be very vital and very cautious of what we are intaking. One who takes in too much sugar could harm themselves if you eat too much sugar, if you eat too much of anything. But learn how to really take control of the thought patterns and what we are feeding our minds. And I think that if we really take a close view and look at what we're feeding our minds, you'll start seeing things in your life begin to change. Now, anybody who's here, I'll tell you this. I started the keto diet last August. So this August will make a year that I've been doing the keto. And when I first got on the keto diet, you could tell that I was losing weight because I couldn't eat sugar. So you can't eat sugar, you can't eat starch. And I began to get on the keto. Automatically, when I began to change what my intake was, what I was eating, what I was feeding myself, I began to see the ramifications of that instantaneously. And what happens is when you start changing what you feed your mind, the same thing that happened to me when I got on keto, your body starts pulling for the sugar. It starts pulling for the potatoes and the rice and the bread that you no longer can eat because your body was used to getting that. So they call it the keto flu. They call it the keto flu because your body is pulling for the things that you are no longer giving it, and you start getting headaches, and they call it the keto flu. The same thing happens mentally. When you start changing what you mentally put in your mind, and you're no longer giving your body what it was addicted to, what wasn't good for it, the junk food and the stuff that wasn't no good, your mind starts pulling for those things. And so we got to be able to be strong enough to not fold and still begin to now change our mental diet of what we are taking in. We got to be able to make that change of what we're taking in. What we are mentally taking in, what are we mentally feeding ourselves? Because as you begin to change what you mentally feed yourself, you'll see how things begin to transpire in your world. You begin to see how things begin to move and to operate. And you begin to understand how your words will begin to change, because your words are living. Your words are active. Your words accomplish. Your words prosper. Your words are intelligent. Everybody on this call tonight, everybody is living in some form of state of consciousness. And you can shift that level of consciousness at any given time. But whatever conscious level you are at is a direct indication of the physical reality you live in. So if you want to change the physical state of your physical world, you got to change the state of consciousness you live in. In order to change the state of consciousness you live in, you got to begin to now be very cautious of what you're feeding your mind. And when you begin to now change your mental diet, you'll begin to see how things are going to start to change. They say that a rich, wealthy mind never consumes the physical elements. He only consumes the mental and the spiritual. Because if he can accumulate the mental and the spiritual atmosphere, he's actually creating the cause. And because he's creating the cause, he will always begin to create the effect. Our affirmation for tonight says, I am a positive thinker with healthy thinking habits. My subconscious always listens and never sleeps. My subconscious feels good because I feed it with right thoughts. Once the right thoughts start entertaining my subconscious, miracles happen fast. This is my aim, to affect my subconscious. Each day I feed it with the right thoughts, and each day my self-talk improves. I am the person who is aware of their thoughts. I stay on guard. As my self-talk improves, my life improves. I like that. It said, this is my aim. And those of you that didn't listen to the call last Wednesday, we talked about the 10 keys to reinventing your self-image, and one of them is to be able to aim. The Bible says that sin means to miss the mark. Some of us are not even aiming in life. What are we aiming for? What is our target? What is your target? The affirmation says that it is my aim to affect my subconscious with good thoughts. I want to ask you tonight, what are you aiming for? What is your target? Because we got to be able, in order to know where we're going, we got to have a target. We got to have a sense of direction of where we're going. What is your target tonight? What are you aiming for? I'm aiming for happiness. I'm aiming for joy. I'm aiming for wealthy, more than enough. I'm aiming for the God in me to give me my good that I deserve, unexpectedly and expectedly, in all ways, effortlessly. It shall happen, and so it is. I'm at a place where I begin to understand my relationship with myself, understanding who I am, and how I need to change how I feed my mind. What am I feeding my mind? Gossip. What am I feeding my mind? Negativity. What I'm feeding my mind? Talking about this person and that person, and what happened over here, and what happened next door, what happened with the family, and who doing this and who doing that. No. What I need to do is to be very cautious of how I'm feeding my mind to benefit me. You know, I realized this the other day. If you spend more time minding your own business, you ain't really got time for nobody else's business. Because your business, your life is more than enough time you're going to need. And so when we begin to look at this, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And God is his word. The God in me, he's in me. And what I want to do, you know what I'm aiming for? I'm aiming to open up the window of heaven, because I am the window of heaven. Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within me. And I'm going to aim to open up that window of heaven that it will pour me out a blessing that I don't even have room enough to receive. I want the overflow blessing. I want to have so much of a blessing that I gotta give it to somebody else because I don't have room. It's overflow. And I don't want it to go bad. I don't want it to go anywhere else. I don't want it to be wasted. But I want to be able to bless somebody else with it because I got more than enough. The overflow. I want to open up the window of heaven that it will pour me out a blessing that I don't have room enough to receive. That's my aim. And how I do that is by what am I focusing my attention on? Because when my attention goes, my power flows. Where my attention goes, my power flows. So I got to be very cautious about what am I paying for? Because I only get out of life what I pay for. What am I paying my mind to? What am I feeding my mind? I got to be able to define, declare, decree. I got to be able to visualize. See myself being, doing, and having the very thing that I want. Because I understand that until my thoughts can link with my purpose, I cannot have any accomplishment. I can't. Until my thought is linked with my purpose, there can be no accomplishment. I want to thank you guys for tuning into the call tonight. Oh, man, I really wish I could go a little longer. I'm definitely out of time, but I'm not out of text. Tonight, this lesson, I want you to go tonight, and the question I have tonight on the call sheet, the call notes, how are you going to change what you feed your mind? I think that tonight we need to all focus on what we have been feeding our minds and what we need to start feeding our minds and which direction we need to go in. What are we feeding ourselves? What are we focusing on? Where's our attention? Where's our concentration? Because these are the things that help us set up our lives. And if anybody on this call tonight is not happy with their lives, is not happy with their financial condition, is not happy with their family, with their marriage or relationships or career, you have the ability tonight to make that change. All you got to do is figure out how you're going to start changing the way you feed your mind, changing where you put your attention to, and changing your concentration levels of what you concentrate on, and being able to find that place where you can find a quiet place where you can settle your mind and that your mind is not all over the place. You know, I've often told people a lot of times when you see people's life is out of order and they say, man, my life is all over the place, I don't have no order, it's a direct indication that there's no order inside of them, that their mind is all over the place. And in order to find the order in your life, your physical life, You got to find the order within your mind, which means that you got to come to a place now where you got to settle your mind. You got to come down and settle your mind and put it in a still, quiet place. And we got to begin to settle your mind. Because once we can settle your mind and begin to organize and begin to figure out where we are, what you're feeding your mind, and where your attention goes, now you'll see your life start really forming and coming back into place. Your life can't be chaotic and just all over the place outside, and it's a direct reflection. Everybody on this call, we are walking mirrors, which means that whatever's going on in our physical reality is a direct reflection of what's going on inside of us. And we have the ability to change that from the inside. If you fail to go within, you must learn to live without. It's an inside job. And so once we learn how to go within, we will be able to create that cause that will produce the effect that we want in our physical reality. And so tonight, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this call tonight. I hope that this message, this teaching tonight was really valuable, would really change how we're going to start feeding our minds and how we are going to begin to really take cautious viewpoints and really be cautious of where we put our attention at. What are we focusing on? Because we know tonight that whatever we focus on, wherever our attention goes, that's where the power flows. And I can't let the power go to the lack, loss, and limitation, into the negativity. I need the power to flow into the abundance, the overflow, into my prosperity, my abundance. I need the power to flow there. And so I have to be very cautious of where my attention goes. Tonight, as we move into our circulation part of the call, we release our funds, and it returns back to us 100-fold return. As we release our funds, when you go to the store, when you are paying a bill, whenever you release your funds, I want you to speak it into the atmosphere. It will return back to me 100-fold. When I begin to put this message together, I always ask Spirit, what is the seed for tonight? And this seed tonight was very interesting. I got $11.11. $11.11. 11 is a master number. 11 is also the number of intuition. It is the number of the subconscious and the conscious mind coming together. 1111 is the double master number, which means that if you can learn how to feed your mind and you can learn how to become a mastermind, that's what the 1111 is. The 1111 is the number of the mastermind. And so when I looked at that, I began to look at, wait a minute, if I'm going to shift the foundation of my world and I'm going to be able to really manifest what I want, I got to be able to master my mind. The number 11 is a master number, but the 1111 is the double master. It is the master over the mind over matter. And when I got that, I said, oh, man, Spirit is right on point. I think what I'm going to do is for the rest of the weeks ahead, I'm going to leave that seed at 1111 on Wednesdays, because 1111 is a mastermind seed. I want to be able to master my mind. Mind always over matter. And so tonight, those of you that want to join in and do the $11.11 seed, the mastermind seed, you can do that. We have Cash App, which is going to be TOESC, which stands for the Temple of Enlightenment Spiritual Center. So that's T as in Tom, O as in Oscar, E as in Edward, S as in Sam, C as in Charlie, TOESE. We also have PayPal, which is going to be at Issachar Bey at gmail.com. We also have VENMO, which is going to be at Issachar, ISSACHAR. Bey, B-E-Y. And then we have Zelle, which is going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com. Those are the 4 ways that you can give to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. Some of you may not have the $11. If you want to do $5, $10, $20, whatever it is that you want to sow, understand that this seed that you're sowing tonight is going to open up the portals and allow you to tap into becoming a master over your mind, how to take your mind and allow it to be over matter. And so we honor and bless that seed that you're going to sow on tonight. I also want to thank all of you because a lot of you have been sharing the post. I see a lot of you have been putting out the calls on your Facebook, and I just want to commend you and tell you thank you. It's greatly appreciated because the more we get the word out, the more we begin to grow, and the more that we begin to expand and really go to the next level. As we get ready to move into Sunday's call, those of you that want to order the book, I believe if you order the book tonight or even tomorrow, you'll have it before Sunday, and it's called The Millionaire Joshua. It's an orange book from the Millionaires of the Bible series by Catherine Ponder. You can order it at Amazon.com. It's a big orange book with the gold star. We're going to be coming out of chapter 3 on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. So definitely put the word out. Let everybody know that Sunday at 9 a.m. we will be working with the Millionaires of the Bible series. And it's definitely been very prolific, profound. It's really like me teaching or singing to the choir because it's really unfolding and really showing me my different levels of consciousness. And it's really me. I feel like I'm going through the journey myself. And so I'm definitely excited about those of you who have been really blessed by it and who are definitely being a part of it. And so we want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know those on the West Coast at Pacific time have to get up extra early to be on that call. And so, you know, it's definitely something that we don't take lightly of your effort and your ability to be there with us. So we definitely appreciate you. Just before we leave this call, I'd like to say one thing. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. Thank you, and until we meet again.